It's February 2nd, 2022. I'm sitting here, I'm having a really hard time. There's a gentleman on, is by the last name Rivera, Ron Rivera. He's a coach with the NFL. And what happens is, as a couch potato in a zero-class situation, there's now this new hype, H-Y-P-E, of a discrimination lawsuit from one, what I would say by his persona and his outer display looks non-aggressive. I forget his name at the moment, so forgive me, but I will go into that in a minute because they're interlinked. So he is, I don't know if he's Pan-African, if he's Pan-Asian, if he's Pan-South American or Pan-Latin American. I don't know who Ron Rivera is coaching for and who the gentleman who's bringing this lawsuit forward in this Miami Dolphins. Now, Miami's known for a lot of insurgents coming and going and not wanting their whereabouts tracked, or to be honest with the authorities. Also, it's a very big drug cartel hub, shall we say, big clubbing and the entire lifestyle I'm not into. So I find that interesting. But then to have Coach Rivera, who looks very different than the original person bringing the lawsuit out, and he's on a different team. He's wearing a W, and they just changed the team's name. They did away with Redskins because they said that was offensive. And then they changed it to now Commanders, which is interesting because yesterday I made mention of red tail being a problem with Tuskegee and flying. There's something called Red Bull, and it gives you wings. That's frightening if that's a tie-in with some underlying campaign. Since yesterday I saw one mayor, not in New York, in some outer state, I think it was, I don't know if it was slightly interior from the northeast coast, but it was on my half of the country if you divide it down the middle. I just don't know which mayor it was. Took and ran up a flagpole, a Pan-African flag, and took down the blue stars with the red, white, and blue, with the red and white stripes with the 50 stars. They took that down and then ran up the flagpole something else. That's upsetting. Then this coach, which I would be very frightened of him if I had to get in an argument with him, not gonna lie. He's got that, I mean, if he's standing in front of me and defending me, I'm feeling like I'm well represented. But if he's the opposing person to my demeanor, he frightens me. And so, but he's a coach for a boys' sports team, like not women's whatever, not women's physics and biometrics club. So he was saying that he grew up in an army family and they're all about merit. I am all for the type of person that he's portraying and displaying. I believe that is a wonderful outro. Like, you really believe you're coming from a good place and you're up to the right thing. Problem is, you're exercising all this free speech in an area that has set in stone who makes the rules. And also on the monetary, there's some pictures so nobody forgets. So if the league says no, that's it at this point. We are so off kilter with other things. I mean, X-ray technology is being used in my area, and I don't have a single soul that is classy or knows class enough to get help. Incidentally, I suppose in the football league of things, my closest family member by genetic look, forget about whatever, or the way I used to look, I mean, because now I look all beat up, but whatever, would end by zodiac birthday thing in the astrological timing of things would be Alexander and I, but I look more like Tom Brady than Alexander does. And so if I look at that, he was taken out of New England and he was put in Tampa Bay. Now that's interesting because I'm also still in New England, and I heard on the same program they're all upset that he was retiring and he's not saying anything to New England. I think there's a lot of miscommunication even in the big leagues of where people have class and people have rank, people have regimen, people have connections. I know I'm in zero class. I know I've been left out here. I know I originally had white glove importance, but somehow I got shoved around and forgotten about amongst all this fighting. So I don't know if that's why he's not publicly thanking New England, because New England has not done a very good job of taking care of me in family and family first and loyalty. And in the interim of that disruption, there's a larger concern with things taking hold and taking root that have existential implications and so on and so forth. I mean, what I'm starting to notice is like there are United States, they call them territories, but outside the continental U.S. that are fighting over stuff that we have no idea because nobody's speaking of it inside the interior, like at my level. But yet, sometimes some of the people wind up making it into the continental northern hemisphere, however that happens. And now they're bringing the fight that they had elsewhere, plus some of them have a history of fighting, and whatever they were communicating in that state, they're bringing that state's fight into the interior of the United States of North America. And here I am with no communication expert, no security update, and totally disadvantaged and cut off. But the other fights, wars, and histories that everybody fought is still going on for them in their sensitivity. And then they're coming in here and they're trying to purposely force other actions and motions and outcomes, which is completely not fair. I mean, if you actually have a conscience. Because it's like, in my one instance, it's like the entire team just piling up. I'm holding the football, but only because Tom left, went to Florida, and I'm like, I don't even know the rules of football, and I don't know why I'm holding it. It's there like, and again, how do you find your way into that? But it's not just football. This happens, it looks like, I mean, the major sports teams, there's a reason why they have a following, they have a network, and it's supposed to be a controlled way of helping out with other stuff, I suppose. But it is, I'm looking at this communications project and how it is in my 43rd year and how it's expanded once it hit digital. I mean, it just seems like for the airlines, that was a big step because now people were well, actually, it would have started with, you went from foot traffic and horse traffic to then train traffic. But at least that was on a designated route, and you could kind of, once they got off, they were on foot, and it was a little bit easier to maintain. But then it expands into, this is like the Big Bang Theory. And then how did we get so far off of where we needed to at world security? Then it goes Big Bang to automobiles. Now, if they are really savvy somehow and you're not on top of things, they go from the train trestle of moving themselves and causing trouble to a personalized vehicle with the interstate system of interconnected roads like arteries and whatnot causing all sorts of trouble. Then, as if that wasn't enough, boom, then they put in airlines and they open it up for just any passenger. It's like, who was in charge at the time that these monetary delights went into effect? Like, who thought letting anyone's kid, without knowing how they're educated, what team they are, what their loyalty belongs to, how did you all allow them an individual steering wheel with some wheels and then access, if they have enough money, to flight anywhere in the world to cause major, major complications and trouble? I mean, who was the adult on the field? Seriously. Like, who was responsible for this? Because this is not safety first. This is like mayhem and chaos and like throwing the chips up in the air because you're pissed about something else and throwing humanity into a major disruption. Besides the fact, now I'm listening to this coach Ron Rivera, and I don't mean any disrespect, really I don't. I'm an alpha female, which means I'm resilient all the way until I spot trouble, and then I have, from the back of the pack, I have to call out if one of the sled dogs are in trouble, because that's how Eskimos work in the Arctic. And right now I feel like one of the dogs is caught up in one of the lead lines or ley lines and is being dragged along, and it's not for their health. Something needs to be done. So he says something about on merit, and I'm thinking about this discrimination case, and I'm like, if we're just speaking on the lines of football, if it's a one layer, one apply conversation, and they file this discrimination suit against something that is non-familial to what North America is, because that's where they filed it, I'm assuming, because I don't know if you can file outside. Again, that gets really confusing because nobody teaches around here. But if we're talking North America, and that's where they filed about this discrimination about not getting a coaching position, if the main family says that there's something larger going on and they already picked someone for that position, that's it. I heard them also reference something about plantation. It's like implementation. It's not, I don't want it, like, because everybody on plantation gets sparked into this big thing. There's more construction going on today with the total outburst and like childish behavior of humans with not staying uniformly on the ground, and for them thinking that they have this innate right to be able to fly and do all these other things. And it's making the world a worse place to live. It just is. It's causing unnecessary strife and unnecessary movements and then unnecessary angers and internal whatever. But he's saying everything should be based on merit. Well, here's the thing, Mr. Rivera. I was not given, let's put it this way, one of my sons, we'll use my son as an example because I'm a girl. I have 4 boys. If my Benjamin, who's only 20 years younger than I am, if he had just as much merit as another person in this day and age, and in 1978, I did not get, in 1978, to anything within NFL league. I wasn't even invited. Why is that? Or in NHL, NBA, or any of the other sports leagues. Now, my son also does not have any contacts in any of the major leagues. But yet so we weren't even given an opportunity to earn merit. And now you're fighting for someone who was already ahead of the rest of us in filing discrimination lawsuits. I hate to tell you, based on the in stone rocks of the Black Hills and Mount Rushmore and the monetary system, my son and I are the ones who are discriminated against, without a doubt. Because I had applied to Harvard, I would have went with whatever class was set, but I wasn't even granted a seat. So there was already discrimination because what graduated in the time frame that I should have graduated, but from that particular law school, why don't you look at the numbers of applications and of what actually got accepted, and you'll see that the landscape of law and learning law itself was already rigged to some major movement between South America and the continent of Africa before I even arrived. And that's what's really scary, is there's this snowball effect that has taken hold, and then some not originally in the conversation said, hey, we've been referred to as black even though we're as pale as ever. And then it becomes this obsessive compulsive and degenerate gamble that is just not fair for the rest of people's lives, because there are real people getting hurt. While the frivolous have these multi-million-dollar, you want couch potatoes perspective with 0 class and never got anywhere in the world, but can speak eloquently for her 4 sons who now are in the same situation. It is absolutely ridiculous for me to see a man, a colored man no less, who got an opportunity to play in football, who got to be flown everywhere, restaurants, world at his feet pretty much, because he's in such an amazing gift, an opportunity. And for him to turn around and say that that wasn't good enough, that he needs more, that's what's really upsetting at this point, because there's so much broken at the bottom level, and this trying to break what is still in place at the top is complete anarchy, and I don't know how it's being tolerated at all. Because when you keep breaking these anchor points that are supposed to be set, you destroy whatever little communication standard and intelligence network that you had, and then the world becomes a more dangerous and chaotic place. So I don't understand it. They say you're looking a gift horse in the mouth, or you're biting the hand that feeds you. Talk about it just seems ungrateful, being that I've never gotten anywhere and I was personally discriminated against, and in the interim for saying so on some form of whatever, I've been severely abused and hurt in the field, being left in New England by myself without the marriage that I was originally intended for. Because during all this time, when they were giving everybody all this opportunity, for some reason, the person that I was born for marriage was taken from me and has been withheld from me, and I don't know why. Ugh, this is what this gentleman has to say.
Here, on the subject of change and leadership, I've got to mention that we sat down with Brian Flores, former head coach of the Dolphins, earlier today. He's got this new lawsuit alleging that the league has a pattern of bias against coaches of color. I don't expect you to know all the details of the lawsuit, but does he have a point in that broader allegation that black coaches in particular don't get a fair shake in the league?
You know, I think there is something to be looked at. I really do. I think what Brian's doing is really, really a brave thing because, again, in this world, in this, you know, in what we do, we've got to be willing to open up our eyes and really decide on merit. And, you know, when you look at a guy like Brian and what he's accomplished and what he's done, there's a lot of merit there. And those are the types of things that people should be judged on and things should be based on. And I think that, you know, if we really take a step back and look at it, we would honestly say there are some...
Merit works when the results weren't stacked for certain people to earn merit faster and in greater numbers than the rest of us. So there is a gray area.
Things that we have to look even deeper into, and we've got to make sure we make the right type of changes so that things are inclusive, that we are doing the things that are right for us.
Do you think, Coach, that he still has a chance at getting a job in the NFL after filing this lawsuit? Some people are saying he just committed a career suicide. What do you think on that score?
You know, I hope he does, because again, if you took what he's accomplished, you take his resume and you put it down on paper, and then you compare it to some of the other candidates that are going to be out there, that's a pretty impressive resume. And I'm, you know, I grew up in the military. My father was an Army officer.
For me, if you look at my resume, it is a roadmap for just how pathetic life in New York for my time frame has been. Because it is just, it reads as nothing but an insult to my level of intelligence and my, I don't know, say heraldry, my whatever. Being that the frick and the girl with the pearl earring and some of the marble statues of my reemergence or reincarnation. I mean, it again, if you have a time traveler and you have an ancient elder spirit that comes back, why would you personally pile up on that elder spirit and force it into to be abused and harmed in so many different ways at the hands of humans with monsters and animals' help?
And so, you know, I grew up under the guys that people were judged on merit, they're judged on rank. And you got your rank based on what you've done and the positive things. And that's kind of the way I've always looked at it. You know, and
right, but there's also another piece that goes into that about how did you get your opportunity? Were you even afforded opportunity to earn rank and then thus earn merit? Here in New England, I have not even been afforded the opportunity to earn rank and merit.
When we made some of the hires we made when I first got to Washington, you know, I hired Jennifer King. You know, she became the first black woman to hold a position in the NFL on the coaching staff. And I did it because I knew who Jennifer was. I understood just exactly what she wanted. And she got it to me based on her merit.
And there is stacking the results in the wrong favor to push an alternate agenda that should not be allowed on the interior of North America based on set in stone and the monetary system that we were granted and allowed to have under that unity flag of red and white with the blue star patch.
I didn't do this as a stunt. I did this legitimately because I thought she was somebody who deserved the opportunity because of all the internships she had done with me, the work she did when she went and she was working on a college football team. She did the things you needed to do. And so I think if you judge people based on those things, you're going to...
Again, I arrived in 1978, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There are crimes in process, and I had nothing to do with them. I shouldn't be here, but I don't know how to get out of here. And this is a perfect example of defending one's prior actions taken that were in complete opposite of what the area needed for safety, security, and to quell internal wars or whatever.
To make the right decision.
Coach, you have been in and around this league for a long time. I have to say this before we get off air. You are truly, truly a great coach, but you're an even better man, and I appreciate you leading the way in so many aspects. Real quick, Tom Brady's retiring. What comes to mind?
Oh, thank goodness. No. He really is one of the all-time greats, and I think he's a guy that, will go down as what they say the GOAT. He deserves it, but, it's kind of a...
I don't know what that term, the GOAT, means to humans. I've heard them reference it before. At my level of couch potato, there's no attachment or no construct built to explain what that means and how Tom Brady fits into that.
Sad thing for us in this league at the same time because he's done so many great things and brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. And I think that's why you play the game is to try to be the best. And when you get to be the best, you get to go out on your terms, and that's what he's doing. So congratulations
Coach,
to Tom Brady. And,
Coach,
like I said,
5 seconds. Bengals or Rams? Bengals or Rams?
Oh, wow. You know what? The Commanders.
We'll be right back.
Give us an opportunity.
What did he say? I don't know. We're going to get shut off on it.
You're watching CBS Mornings on CBS.
Curtis 56.
This is interesting.
So we got cut off there, but Coach Rivera said Commanders in the Super Bowl.
With more.
See, I would say that that's a non-aggressive, passively aggressive, I'm not quite sure, action. But it didn't seem like when Tony put the helmet on and did whatever football players do, right? Now this is the piece at the beginning of the show, and then towards the end of the show. Towards the end of the show is what I showed first, and now I'm going back to the beginning.
His name is Brian Flores. He was fired last month after 3 years coaching the Miami Dolphins. His lawsuit claims the NFL has failed to create a fairer hiring process. Quote, nothing has changed. In fact, the racial discrimination has only been made worse by the NFL's disingenuous commitment to social equity.
As of today, there are 3 head coaches of color, including 1 black man out of 32 in the league. That's down from 8 in 2018. About 70% of the players are black. The NFL says in a statement, diversity is core to everything we do, and there are a few issues on which our clubs and our internal leadership team spend more time. We will defend against these claims, which are without merit. Brian Flores is here with us right now with his attorneys.
They also don't say who on there didn't have the name of the person who they're quoting, technically.
Good morning. We appreciate you guys joining us. We know that you guys did reach out to us last week, but I'm glad you guys